Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well and staying safe. My name is Nunzio Presta. I'm the founder and CEO of BizOn, an online marketplace where people can buy, sell, and grow businesses or franchises every day. Ideally in the micro market, so businesses with valuations of under 5 million. Before we get started, I just want to thank everyone that tunes into this Instagram Live. There's no downplaying how hard this is for the business community and for families around the world. So thank you very much for tuning in. Today I'm very excited to be chatting with Rochelle Clark. She's a founder of Succession Strength, a company that helps families in business run smooth and conflict-free businesses for generations. Rochelle is also the author of the 5 Critical Succession Conversations, a comprehensive guide for the family business, and she is a graduate of University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of creating a plan to prevent and recover from potential threats to a company. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to invite Rochelle to the conversation, and we're going to get started. Hi, Rochelle.
Hi, Nunzio. How are you? Really good, really good. No complaints. We're under a lockdown here, as is most of the world, I think.
Most of the world.
You know, I'm happy that we're able to connect still.
I know. Can you hear me fine?
I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it looks like everything's good. So I just want to thank you for joining. Everyone's going live. So it's I guess a competitive field right now, but for anyone tuning in, I already did our little intro to introduce who you are and what you specialize in, but is there anything else you wanted to tell the audience before we get started?
No, I think the most important thing is for the viewers and the listeners to know that, listen, this is a time when business owners are in a state of uncertainty. And the temptation sometimes is to worry or to kind of sit on your hands until there's more clarity. But just know that there are business owners out there who are still trying to be very active in terms of getting their houses in order so that when this thing does turn around, they're completely prepared to go.
No, I agree. I think the natural reaction for a majority of businesses is to scale back and think small. I actually wrote an article a couple weeks ago on Thrive Global about how, that isn't the approach and it shouldn't be the approach. Obviously, there are some businesses that, they need to go down that road. But, overall, I think if you're creative and you're prepared and you plan, I think you could actually get out of this on a positive foot rather than a negative foot. But I have 10 questions with regards to our conversation. I know it's a hot topic, business continuity. So I've been getting emails left, right, and center, from all sorts of businesses sharing their plans. So I think this is a good chance for us or for you to explain exactly what this is and how small business owners can potentially create one that could help them plan and get through this really this uncertain time. So the first question out the gate is, what is a business continuity plan?
Well, Nunzio, I think a couple of weeks ago, I would have had to go into detail explaining the nuts and bolts of a business continuity plan. But I think that due to the fact of this whole pandemic, folks are more or less aware of what a plan is. But just to give some context, a business continuity plan is more or less like a will for the business. It keeps the operations going in the event that something unplanned were to happen.
Now, can you dig a little bit deeper though? Can you, what does it cover? What does it cover?
It covers basically everything. Soup to nuts. You can put as much in there as you would like, but the basic things that are usually covered are people, what to do with people, who are the backup people for specific operations in the event that something were to happen. So that's people. Operations. What are the key operations and how do we keep them going? What are the workarounds for the key operations in the business so that those can keep going? And then you're also talking about what to do with finances. This is a hot button topic, but the money that's coming in, how do we keep making money? How do we keep receiving money? How do we keep paying our bills if something were to happen?
Okay, so now, so it's more, the preparation and planning of those areas of your business. Now, where would, for example, insurance kick in? How does insurance play into this factor? And would a company need both? Like, do they go hand in hand?
That's an excellent question. Some people say, oh, I'm protected. I have insurance. I'm good to go. No issues. I'm completely covered. But, and this is one thing that I think a lot of business owners are finding out now. Insurance provides a payout.
Yeah.
Whereas a business continuity plan keeps the business going. Now, when it comes to insurance, and this is the sad reality for some, a lot of them are finding that, the original amounts that they thought they were covered for, perhaps they're not covered for as much now. And then there are all of these clauses that are no longer, that are excluded from their coverage. So they find themselves sometimes in a situation where they're not really fully protected. An insurance policy provides a payout. And that sometimes is a very short-term solution to keeping a business in operation for a number of reasons. A, sometimes you have to wait for the payout, so it doesn't come immediately. Once that payout comes, you need to ensure that you're still able to cover all of the business's expenses for an ongoing period of time. And this is where a business continuity plan comes in. A lot of owners step back and say, listen, I would just prefer to keep getting money coming into this business month after month, as opposed to relying on a one-time insurance payout.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, I'm hearing a lot of conversations from small business owners talking about, yeah, loans are great, grants are great, injections are great, but, my real issue right now is the gaps and the cash flow. Like, cash isn't king. It's cash flow's king.
Exactly.
And that's what's going to destroy a lot of these small businesses. Okay. Now, I think if we sit back and, we kind of tell ourselves, like, these sort of pandemics are rare, right? They rarely happen in a person's lifetime. So is it fair to say if a business could survive this, is it fair to say they can survive anything moving forward? Like, how does that play into factor here?
That's a tough one. You're absolutely right. Hopefully we only see one pandemic in our entire lifetimes. This is the first
Fingers crossed.
Through, and I just hope that this is it. So yes, they are once in a lifetime opportunities, if that, or once in a lifetime disruptions, if that. But what you would find most frequently are normal types of disruptions that any business can go through. And these disruptions happen every single day.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that a business continuity plan also addresses, and those are what should be top of mind for any business owner. Because yes, you can live through a pandemic like this one, hopefully it goes quickly. But what happens after the business resumes?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think if you look historically, sure, pandemics are rare, but economic shocks happen I think on average, every 10 years. They last, anywhere from 6 months to 18 months. And then you see, an uptick in the economy for another 10 years. And then you get another economic shock. So, like, we know that, some sort of economic shock will happen. So other than, these rare pandemics, what else, would an owner need a continuity plan for? Would it be, hey, let's have one in place, because we know in another 10 years, some sort of downward pressure is going to be on our business?
Nunzio, it's not even a 10-year horizon that we're thinking about when we're thinking continuity planning. We're thinking as close as day to day. People get sick every single day. If a business owner, for some reason, falls ill and is in hospital, and this is actually one of the cases that I received last year, where this young lady called me up and said, Rochelle, I had to be hospitalized for 2 weeks, and I recognize that my business can't run without me. Now, how many businesses out there are in a similar position where it's the owner or some other member of staff who they really can't live without, who the
Yeah.
business can't survive without? So that's a situation. Unexpected illness, unexpected death. We don't want to talk about it, but actually this was a situation in my own family's business. When the owner passed away suddenly, and his daughter, who was preparing to take over the business, wasn't ready yet. So there we were trying to plan a funeral and at the same time figuring out how to keep this business going. Let me tell you, it's not advisable. It's not a good time to be going through something like that.
Yeah.
So these surprises, let's call them surprises because they're unplanned, these happen every single day and businesses need to be prepared for them. They don't need to be at pandemic level, but they can do just as much damage. You're talking death, you're talking illness, but come on. We know that one of the number one reasons why a lot of startups actually cave or fail is because of conflict between the co-founders.
Yeah.
Somebody quits unexpectedly and there goes the business. But if there's a business continuity plan in place with the operations well documented, the risk of that happening is greatly reduced. And it's for these reasons that business continuity plans are essential.
I love that because, for someone on the outside, to tell you the truth, business continuity plans, I didn't know about that 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay. And it just hit me in the face and I started thinking about it. I'm like, wow. But what ends up happening and why this conversation is so important is because there's already a stigma around it. People think that these plans only matter when something, as crazy as a pandemic happens. But what you're saying is no, there should be a plan in place for day to day, which sounds extremely reasonable, right?
For small businesses that
exactly
can't afford the disruptions.
Yeah, exactly. And I came across a quote the other day that kind of plays onto this, and it said, "The best time to fix the roof is when the sun is shining."
Yes, exactly.
So, right, you don't want to be doing this right now.
No.
Right, you don't want to be doing this right now. So, preparation and planning is always key. Perfect. So now, just to get a little bit deeper, because one thing that I'm seeing that's not sitting well with me are a lot of small businesses thinking short term and not treating all their stakeholders the right way. And when I say stakeholders, I mean employees, customers, investors, potentially. Now, what kind of advice or what do you think a company should be doing about their people right now?
Right. So the first thing that companies should be doing with their people right now, hopefully they've done this before, is communicating. Number one, communicate. When a business goes through a disruption, whether it's a business, and you're seeing this with some countries at the moment, people need guidance. People need reassurance. So that's the number one thing. So if you own a company, the number one thing that you should have done, or if you haven't done it, do it now. Communicate. Let people know what's happening, particularly your employees. They are at a loss. They don't know what's going to happen with their income. They don't know where their next paycheck is coming from. And there's a lot of fear and anxiety, not only related to the pandemic, but to their own survival.
Sure.
Right? So communicate, let them know what's going on. If it is that you find yourself in a bind, not knowing what to do with the business, or if you think that you're going to need to make tough decisions when it comes to people, try to be as open as possible. Because here's the thing, for a lot of small businesses, the decision that the owner may have in mind for what should happen to the employees, sometimes they find out if they have a conversation, the employees can help come up with solutions that are flexible.
Exactly. Yeah.
So an owner might be thinking, hey, I may need to lay some people off. But if he were to sit with the employees and say, hey, this is what we're facing, guys. This is the amount of cash that we have that's available for the business for X amount of time. I may not be able to pay you, let's say, 100% immediately. How can we work this out? I really, really, really want to avoid laying people off or sending people home. What you may find is that collaboratively, a lot of the employees may come together and say, one may say, hey, you know what, actually, I could take a cut in my paycheck this month because, maybe I have a spouse who earns enough, so I can sit this one out so that that person can be paid. So what you find is that there can be a lot of flexibility once there's that open and honest communication. So
I love that.
When it comes to people, the number one thing is communicate. Let them know what's happening. Let them know that any challenges that you may be facing regarding them, and invite them to the table to help brainstorm solutions. The benefit of a lot of small businesses is that they have the flexibility to make those changes and to put plans in place that benefit the business and benefit their employees.
No, exactly. And I think for the business leaders and the employees, it's uncharted territory, and everyone's learning as we go, and there's no playbook for any of this. Like, this is, no one has the answers. And I think, when a leader, conducts themselves with humility and goes back to the employees and says, listen, this is the current reality. I have faith we will get through this, but this is the current reality. Help me.
Yes.
And I think the right employees will contribute.
Yes.
They will come up with creative ideas or ways to survive and get through this together. So I think you're spot on. When it comes to people, it's communication. I think the easy answer for most business leaders is, oh damn, things are out of control. There's a bunch of chaos. I'm just gonna, think small, scale back, lay off everyone, and just, have a situation where I'm back in control of things.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think that's that. And some businesses don't have the choice, but for me, I don't think that would be the way to go. Now, yeah, exactly. Now, people aside, how about operations? What should a company do with that now?
Right. So the number one thing that a business continuity plan would have covered would have been workarounds for key tasks. Every business knows the key tasks that keep the business running. What are the workarounds for those? I know back in the day, we would have been talking about manual workarounds. Well, guess what? Now we're also talking virtual workarounds.
Yeah.
Right. Here we are.
Yeah.
So if the operations go down for some reason, what is the workaround? So that's the number one thing that businesses should keep in mind when they're planning for continuity. And the next thing is cross-training. Okay, this is the workaround, but who else knows how to do this for that? So this is definitely a consideration that businesses and business owners need to have when they're thinking about their operations and the continuity of their operations.
Makes sense. No, that makes total sense. Now, as far as some examples, whether you have clients or of other businesses that are executing great continuity plans, do you have some examples, like one or two?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and it's difficult to single out a company or two. Yes, of course, we've worked with companies to put continuity plans in place, but here's the thing: a lot of times you don't know, and it's hard to guess what actions are guided by a continuity plan versus those are just quick thinking and the decision making in the moment.
Yeah.
But this is what I would say. A good answer to that question would be, that a business did not have a continuity plan in place if you see the following characteristics. First of all, if there is no decisive and intentional leadership. Right? So things go off the rails and everyone's kind of running around like chickens with their heads cut off. That's how a continuity plan was not in place. Second, if there's no smooth and quick transition to a plan B. If chaos happens and then everyone is now looking around to gather around the table to figure out what we'll do, they don't have a continuity plan in place.
Interesting.
If they did, it would be dust off the plan. What does the plan say? Does this fit the event that we're facing at the moment? Okay, we execute. Number 3 that you look for, communication. Think about the businesses that you interact with and that you have interacted with since the start of this pandemic. Did the communication come quickly? Was it thorough? Did it provide clear direction, and was it consistent? So with every business you deal with, did the communication come quickly, Or were they like now trying to figure out, oh my God, what do we say? Second, and I'm repeating these, second, was it thorough? So does it say, it followed, and there's a script usually. A, you acknowledge the event. B, you empathize where empathy needs to be given, or you acknowledge the pain or the impact that it's having on others, and then you state what the next steps are. Are those clear? Did those come through clearly in the communications that you're receiving from these companies? If this was not the case in the communication that you've received, there was not a continuity plan in place, and they're now trying to figure things out.
I love that. I love that. Like you can easily spot out the businesses that don't have the plan in place, but the businesses that have a plan in place, it's consistent.
Yes.
It's consistent.
But the thing is, a lot of businesses, even now, maybe they didn't start with plans, but these are plans that they're third thing. And the fourth thing I should say, how do you spot a business that did not have a continuity plan in place? What happens when it comes to their communication, particularly when it comes to the finances, cash? What did they do at the start of this pandemic, and what are they doing now? If they had a continuity plan in place, one of the first things they would have done is spoken to accountant, creditors. Call up the bank. Hey, this is what we're facing. We think we're okay right now, but this is the case.
Yeah.
Right? Creditors. Hey, what can we do? How can we ease the pressure here a little bit? And they start negotiating payment terms. For those who would have thought a little bit longer, would have been able to say, okay, if this persists for, let's say, 3 months, then we need a crisis plan to kick in, right? But then they would have been keeping an eye on cash. For businesses that did not have a continuity plan in place, a lot of them might have continued paying out and spending as they usually did, expecting that this would blow over in a week or two.
Exactly.
Right? So those are some characteristics of how you know that the business did not have a continuity plan in place. But the sad thing, Nunzio, is that a lot of these businesses, even after the pandemic and even after the operations would have resumed, a lot of them may still end up losing customers. And that's because of the way the customers or the clients were treated during
100%. Yeah,
right?
that's the thing. That's the biggest thing that's not sitting well with me. I'm seeing some that are treating all their stakeholders amazingly through this time, but then I see others that aren't, and
Dropping the ball.
Yeah, exactly. But I love what you're saying about how you can identify a business that doesn't have that plan. It sort of reminds me, and I always bring up my hockey career because that's what I can relate things to. But it reminds me, I used to be a goalie, and no one will remember the good saves you made because you were prepared, you were planned, you made it look easy, and
and that's what you were supposed to do.
Right, that's what I was supposed to do. But they're gonna remember that one bad goal. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And this is the exact same situation. Like, everyone's not really going to notice, the businesses that have a plan because things are great, things are consistent, things are moving forward, but they're going to spot that one company that just doesn't have things sorted out. Right?
Absolutely.
And that's going to speak volumes about their brand for years to come.
Absolutely. And a lot of them will not be able to recover, because then customers will go to the competitor or someone else, know? And it's telling. If you look at your inbox right now, you've probably been getting these emails. I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten from United and from all of the airlines.
Yeah.
Directly from the CEO.
Yeah.
From the CEO, but we know what that means. Could have been somebody else, but the communications have been consistent and they have been thorough. Right? So small businesses, although they're small, can still take a page from that playbook and say, hey, how do I communicate with my customers? How do I continue to let them know that, hey, things are still going well? The last thing a customer wants is for you to abandon them.
Yeah.
during a situation like this, because remember, it's also tough for them. It's tough for business owners and consumers as well. The last thing they want to know is that they continue to support a company that has treated them poorly when times were rough, when times were tough, you know?
Yeah.
So what I would say is that having a continuity plan in place is about knowing what to do when emotions are high, when people around are losing their minds, when you're losing money, right? It's knowing what to do and doing it. And sometimes you don't have the luxury of time to react. Sometimes you don't have the mental capacity to really consider all of the options.
Yeah.
This is why you put a plan in place that you then execute when the time comes.
Yeah, and listen, I think, this leads into my last question here perfectly, but I think, to summarize that, as a business, you can lose money, but you can't lose your reputation. Not even a bit. So you need to think clear around that, and you need to understand that every decision you make creates the life and brand moving forward, right? Now, with my last question, I know offline you briefly mentioned that you're running a pilot for an online option where business owners could create their own business continuity plan. Can you just talk a little bit more about that and how people could interact with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we've done one of the things that we do is business continuity planning. We put these plans in place for businesses because, like I said, this was my own experience, and it's the last thing that I think a business should have to deal with, particularly a small business. So we have been creating these plans, but one thing that we've decided to do is make the option an online option, which means that business owners can pop in there, answer their questions, and have a plan created for them. They sit down, they answer the questions, and at the end of it, this report or the plan, the continuity plan, gets emailed to them and to the person that they designate as a backup person. In that way, we believe that, a lot of business owners have some time on their hands at the moment. So this is one way that they can be putting their house in order so that when the operations resume, they can be sure that they have that peace of mind. The other thing is that this experience of a disruption is fresh in people's minds. So a lot of them have the lessons learned. What would I have done differently? What could I have done differently? And now is the time to really document that in a continuity plan so that they don't have to think about what if. They don't have to think about theoretical situations when they're living it right now.
Agree. I think there's always opportunity in times like this, and you're spot on. Plan more than they've ever done before. So don't waste that time. Take advantage of that time. And like I said, just always come out of this. I think everyone has the obligation to come out of this stronger than weaker. Right. That's what every business leader should aim for. But I think so. So just to summarize my chat, I was taking notes here. To summarize my chat, this chat, I think the overarching goal of a business continuity plan is to enable ongoing operations and after a disaster or economic shock, or even just day-to-day operations, kind of like what we're going through right now. So that's a quick summary of this conversation, which I loved it. I learned a ton. Thank you so much, Rochelle, for this. But before we end, I just quickly, want to speak directly to people tuning in and small business owners for just a split second. And like I said at the beginning of this chat, there's no denying that things are crazy and tough. But like I shared throughout the whole entire chat, please do not tarnish your relationships. You need to avoid all sort of short-term thinking that will harm these relationships with employees and customers and investors. Like I said, how you really act during these moments speaks volumes about you and your business moving forward. So please try and focus on making the right decisions and treating people well. We need to stay together in times like this. We can't be apart. So Once again, Rochelle, thank you so much for joining me. I know it's hitting dinner time soon for you in the UK. So
Yes, yeah, I'm in Amsterdam. It's just about dinner
oh, in
time.
Amsterdam. Sorry. Okay.
I forgot to mention is they can come to the website,
Okay.
successionstrength.com, and that's
Yep.
where they can get information on business continuity plan, the online option. But Nunzio, you're absolutely right. There's a lot that we could be doing right now. We just need to stay positive and
Yeah.
remember that we do have businesses to preserve, not only now, but when this disruption passes.
Exactly. Yeah. And most people, you want to come out of this to a business, not to a business that no longer exists. So stay positive, stay well, stay safe, everyone. And once again, Rochelle, thank you so much. We'll chat soon.
We will. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.